What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Ask Alex, where this is the show where we take your questions and answer them here on this show. I'm your host, Alex Hampton, and today we have a very fun show for you guys today. A lot of cool things to dive into, and maybe a few entanglements. Who knows, Entanglement is still a thing, apparently, when it comes to some of these companies. So I can't wait to dive into these topics, but I couldn't do this by myself, and I have my co-host with me, Jeremy Branch. How are you doing today, Jeremy?
What is up, man? I'm doing real good. I was just now over at the friend's house over at Matt's, where we do the weekly My Friend Watches videos. Today we watched The Room and we watched The Disaster Artist, and that was super fun for me because as much as I love doing the Marvel series, we watched dozens of Marvel movies back to back. It was nice to watch a bad movie and just kind of laugh at it and have a good time. So that was great, and I'm glad to be here to talk some movies with you, man.
Awesome. And yeah, if you guys haven't already, go check out My Friend Watches series over on Holden Hartman's channel. Really dope. They do a lot of Marvel movies and also some other movies as well. So definitely go check that out. And Ian couldn't be with us today, but next time we do a show, I'm sure he'll be on the next episode. So, but also go follow the controversy for all the stuff that he pulls out as well. So thank you guys again for watching our amazing content. Let's go ahead and jump into. Oh wait, before we jump into the first question, if this is your very first time ever watching this show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And then hit that bell right next to it. That way you get all the notifications of every time I'm releasing a video here on Momentum Media. And guys, if you want your question or topic on this show, all you have to do is just send me an email at the AskAlexShow@gmail.com. That's the AskAlexShow@gmail.com. I normally put a graphic up, but I've been leaving the link in below as well. And oddly enough, I've been getting a lot of questions about anime, so I might start doing some anime questions as well. So definitely going to dive into that as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the first question of the day. And the first question comes from a Fred Edwards, good brother. I met him about a year ago, really good dude. And he asked me this really cool question. Hey, Alex, it's been confirmed that we will see new footage of the Batman movie and other DC properties. Are you excited to see the DC Fandom showcase this next weekend? Well, thank you for your question, Fred. Literally the schedule for the DC Fandom Comic-Con / Fandom came out this week, where it's confirmed that we're getting Snyder Cut footage, or Snyder Cut panel, Batman panel, a Flashpoint panel. There's some mystery panels there, like where we might get an announcement of maybe a Superman movie or maybe something else. I don't know, something that they got cooking up. There's also going to be Wonder Woman stuff. So I have to say, I am a huge DC fan in terms of their comics and a lot of other stuff that they've done. I'm not necessarily a huge DCEU fan. I do like their movies, not all of their movies for obvious reasons, but I have to say I am excited for this. This is starting to get a little bit more excited for me than I did the San Diego online Comic-Con, only because we didn't really get any substance from that. And it looks like from this DC Fandom, we're about to get like some really cool Batman, maybe some Flash stuff, maybe some Black Adam stuff. So I'm actually interested to see what they're going to lay out. My only question is that, again, like, what is this a DCEU anymore? Like, because there's a Suicide Squad movie that still has Ben Affleck's Batman, not attached to it, but he's around in that universe. So it's so convoluted and so weird. Another thing that I have somewhat of a concern about is that Ezra Miller is going to be hosting a panel, and I know we talked about it on the show, but they have not addressed anything about him choke slamming a woman. So I'm just wondering how that's going to play out. Like, I wonder, and mind you, this is already pre-recorded. So all they're doing, from what I read, is live streaming their pre-recorded panels, and you can just go to each one of them on the website. So I'm just curious to see how he's going to address what happened, if Warner Brothers is going to address it. I don't know. But I am interested to see that and these other new projects as well. There were some teaser footage of the Batman movie of basically a Robert Pattinson in his suit. Not really much anything, but it does seem kind of cool, just the scenery of it. So I'm interested to see it. But Jeremy, you heard this news. Are you interested to see the DC Fandom live Comic-Con at home? And what do you expect to see from this conference?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I can't believe that you're gonna sit here and tell your people, the people watching, the people that subscribe to your channel, you're going to sit here and tell them that you're a fan of the DC movies, because you and I both know that's not true. No, I know you like some of them, and I know it's Static Shock a DC character.
He is.
Okay, so yeah, you definitely have love for the DC shows. Mm-hmm. You haven't liked a lot of the movies, but I know you're a fan of Static Shock. So, we're both DC character fans. Mm-hmm. I guess we're going back down the road of Flashpoint again. I don't know. Okay. Curious. Knowing what we know, mentioning what you mentioned about Ezra Miller just now, if you are in his situation, how do you neutralize the threat? How do you fix this situation? Do you not say anything? Or do you come in and lean into the apology right off the bat? Do you make a joke about it? What's your strategy?
If I were Ezra Miller, or if I was representing Ezra Miller, I would come to some form of understanding with the fans and address the situation and let them know what has happened. And honestly, if he were to say, I reached out to the woman that was involved in this issue, we settled the things, I apologized, I went about it like I've been held accountable. If he were to say that I've been held accountable for this, and this was not a good look on me as a person, then I can sympathize with you because you're taking responsibility. Yeah. I just don't know if DC Fandom is the right place for him to do that, though. That's my thing.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's what I was going to kind of follow up with. It seems like that's something you would have wanted to handle ahead of time before you go into this thing. Because if you don't address it, all the comment section is going to be full of that kind of stuff. And that takes away from this really exciting news. I mean, if Flashpoint's got some stuff to show us. That's great. I'm looking forward to that. You mentioned footage of Pattinson in the Batsuit. Is that the test footage that we saw a couple months ago, or is there some new stuff?
Oh no! There was just I saw this thing on comicbook.com where he's in the suit walking towards, I believe, either a criminal. It's just walking towards a bystander, and then that was it. And I don't know if it's real or not. And then I seen Emergency Awesome post the very same clip on Twitter. So I was just like, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. So and all the headlines that kept reading, new footage of Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman walking, and I'm like, okay. So
show me something, yeah. Show me something, yeah. It's interesting, man. We've talked about it a bunch. This is an opportunity for DC to show us, several of these projects that are in the works. You named several of them, and they are talking a little bit about a Superman film. I do know that they're doing like a Lois and Clark series over on CW now. Yeah. So I think, is it called Clark and Lois or something, almost exactly the same?
Yeah, I think it's either like Clark or Lois or Superman and Lois. I don't know.
Yeah. That's what I was hearing. So, yeah. I mean, they've got a lot of attention on them. Comic-Con is a little bit more spread out. There's a lot of different things that they talk about at Comic-Con, but lately it's getting to be smaller and smaller because each of these different studios are starting to put more money into their own convention-style atmosphere. And, I mean, I'm going to be honest, the thing about Comic-Con and the thing about Fandom is what I'm looking forward to is the footage, is the trailers. And I don't need to go to this virtual convention to experience that. I can wait another hour. It'll all be online. So I'm very curious to see how this, because I think this is their first venture into doing something like this. So I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, me too. And, it's funny. I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con. That's where essentially all the movie stuff happens. But Jeremy puts out a good point. Literally, an hour later, or sometimes even shorter, you'll get the trailer of the very film that they were presenting at San Diego Comic-Con. So my thing is that if they're going to put out footage and see, my thing is with this is that, people who do YouTubing stuff like we do, there are going to be people who are going to be screen recording this whole event and just popping it on their sites. So I think what they should do is just put out the good parts on YouTube beforehand and then do the panels and explain what we saw. That's what I think they should do.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I 100% agree. If there was one thing that I would be excited about that I would watch separately, it would be the Snyder Cut panel, because that's just something that's interesting to me. I kind of want to hear what everybody has to say about that whole situation. So that's one thing that would draw me in for sure. And I'm sure the same goes for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would definitely want to see that. And I would also, honestly, I want to see with what I keep forgetting the actress's name. The lady that got cast as Catwoman in the Batman movie. Zoe Kravitz. Yeah, Zoe Kravitz. Yes. And I would love to see her interpretation of Catwoman on screen. So I just want to see that. But what do you guys think? You guys excited for DC Fandom? Are you guys excited to see this new footage from all these different DC properties? Just jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And let's go ahead and jump into the next question. A returning person who keeps asking me these amazing questions, Miss Iris Peoples, and she writes, "Hey Alex, there's a rumor floating around that the new Spider-Man 3 title will be called Spider-Man Homesick. What do you think about this title for Spider-Man 3? Well, thank you for your question, Iris. I'm gonna be honest, it's a terrible title.
It sounds dumb.
It's the dumbest thing that I've ever. And what's funny? When I got this email, that was the first time I saw any of it. I never saw it on like Variety or anything like that. That was the first time I saw it. And then when I did my own research, Variety, Screen Rant, and other websites were reporting that was the rumored title. And then Amy Pascal did say that Spider-Man 3, the next title, will have home in it. My thing is that if this is okay, if let's just say hypothetically, this is the title, Homesick. What it implies to me is that Peter Parker is probably in jail. That's what it implies to me. Because it implies to me that he's in jail or he's away from home. He's somewhere. I don't know. And I'm excited for Spider-Man 3 to see what that's going to look like. But to be 100% honest, the title is trash. They have a lot of creatives at Sony/Disney, so I know they can come up with something better than that. To be fair, though, the other two titles, Homecoming and Far From Home, not really that catchy. They fit the film, but there's nothing exciting about Spider-Man Homecoming, the title, or Spider-Man Far From Home, the title, in my opinion. But Jeremy, you heard this rumor. What do you think about this potential new title of Spider-Man Homesick?
I've seen a lot of it as well. I've seen it being reported as a rumor title. I don't know that they've confirmed it yet, but I'm going to be honest, man. They started out with Homecoming, and that was kind of a meta title, right? Because Spider-Man's coming home to Marvel, and then also Homecoming's in the movie, so it kind of worked as a double entendre. Spider-Man fought the Vulture in the first Spider-Man movie, and he was in the airport scene in Civil War, but then we get to Far From Home after he'd been to space, and I'm thinking it's not that far from home when you consider that you were on Titan in the last movie.
Yeah,
and then it's like this Homesick title. Yeah, it's got home in it, but I think this is the one where he's going to be in New York. So how is he homesick when he's back at home? It's whatever. It's fine because it's really just a title. Alex, I think you nailed it. It's not like Far From Home doesn't sound cool. Homecoming doesn't necessarily sound cool, but they serve some sort of narrative purpose. Obviously, with Far From Home, it's that he's vacationing in Europe, so he's a long way from New York. And when I've talked to friends like myself who are big Spider-Man fans, I will always say Spider-Man's my favorite superhero. Batman's my favorite comic book character. That's the way I always delineate the two of them. Spider-Man is by far my favorite superhero, and I don't like globe-trotting, flying to space Spider-Man. Like, I wanted to see friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in a city, defending New York, small-scale stuff. They didn't go that direction, and that's okay. What me and you have even talked about, and Ian was on an episode one time where we were kind of discussing ideas that we would have for the next movie, and I saw some really cool concept art with Joel Kinnaman, the guy from Suicide Squad, done up like Kraven. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. That was dope.
It's pretty cool. I could see them doing something really interesting with that, and we were kind of talking about he's probably going to be on the streets of New York trying to keep a low profile, trying to hide from either all of the authorities and the police because of J. Jonah Jameson at the end of the last film, or he's being hunted by Kraven. And either direction, that's super cool, and either direction, Homesick doesn't really fit with it. So I don't know. Maybe they go in a totally different direction, but I don't care that much about titles anyways.
For me, like, titles don't make, to me, titles are not make or break for me. I'm not saying they have to make sense. I mean, if you look at the Fast and Furious franchise, all of those titles have a number right next to them. Fast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hobbs and Shaw. Like, it's not all that, it's not a big deal breaker for me. But I am like Jeremy said, I am interested to see what they're going to take the Spider-Man 3 movie, especially what happened after Far From Home. I will comment on something though. Jeremy put out a really good point that we didn't see a smaller scale Spider-Man. Even in Homecoming, like, we didn't see Spider-Man swinging around the city until Far From Home. Like, they're at the end of Far From Home. So we didn't have, like, when you look at the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield movies, they're swinging around the city. They're more like, they're enjoying being a New Yorker. And you don't really get that type of vibe from at least from the movies that have come out. But I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do with that particular movie for that particular film, and how Peter's going to have to deal with his secret. Might be out, might not be out. Who knows? Like, but what do you guys think? Do you guys like the title of Homesick? Do you think Peter Parker is in jail? Do you think that all of this makes no sense or any sense? Just jump into the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. And guys, this is what I meant by an entanglement at the beginning of the show, because this last question is a question that I somewhat addressed this weekend about the whole Avatar stuff. So this last question comes from a Alana James, or Elena James. I could be pronouncing that wrong. And she writes, "Hey Alex, so Netflix has responded to the statements that the Avatar creators have made. They basically said that there were a number of things that they didn't agree upon. What do you think about these statements that Netflix made?" Well, thank you for your question, Miss James. So let me just lay out some context. I believe it was on Saturday or Friday, someday, where I reported on my YouTube channel that the Avatar creators were not going to do the live action Avatar series on Netflix. By the way, the original show is on Netflix. Legend of Korra is on Netflix. I've been binge watching Legend of Korra. That shit is so cool. Like, I love that show. I'm
is beautiful on that show, and I saw that you had been watching it. It kind of made me want to check it out.
Oh, it's so cool. And the fight scenes in that show are very lethal in comparison to the Avatar. Like, it was like she is like ruthless. I love that show. But anyway, that's just a side note. So what I stated before was, which is all facts that you can look up, is that the Avatar creators, although they created an amazing series, they've never done anything live action. Ever. And as a filmmaker myself, when you put like someone who's done animation and live action, like having them transition over, can be kind of hard. Sometimes it can be seamless. Sometimes it can be easy. But my thing is that it wasn't a big deal because they've never done anything live action. I also point out what you guys can go look up on IMDb under the producers tab. The M. Night Shyamalan movie, those creators were producers on that movie. Executive producers, to be exact. Now, they have said, again, that they had little to no involvement. Okay, you can take that for what you said, for what they say. M. Night Shyamalan says otherwise. My thing is this, and I'm just going to say this, so, and you guys can take it for what it is. When you get an executive producer credit on a film, that means you got paid. And that means that you're putting your name on this film as a producer. Me personally, as a creative, if I didn't like that film and I didn't have that much involvement and it was my property that I developed, I'm not receiving an executive producer credit or a check. That's me. Now, I'm not saying that situation was different with them. I'm just saying for me, if I didn't like something that was being taken a different way that I created that's successful, I'm not taking a executive producer credit nor a check. Now, you can take that and say whatever you want, but that's just the reality of how I see that. Now, Netflix did come out and say, well, their disagreements that they had were, in particular, budget, casting, and different creative styles as well. They wanted which I do agree with the Avatar creators, they wanted a more diverse cast. Because when you watch Avatar, although Aang is, I guess, white in the show, his other counterparts, they're brown skin characters. So I don't know what race that they are, but I would have no problem with them either being white or people of color. Either way, I do know that was a point of contention according to the article that I read from Variety. Another thing that I read was terms of budget. They tried to craft a live action show like they craft an animated show. Anybody who knows anything about filmmaking knows that whatever effects you do in animation doesn't necessarily translate well in a live action. Well, people say, well, look at Avengers Endgame. They did a whole lot of cool CGI stuff. That's true. But if you read Infinity Gauntlet, that whole comic book is a whole lot more bigger in terms of effects than the actual movie. So my thing is with that is that you have to understand that there's only certain things that you can translate well. Prime example, I did a Static Shock, 2 Static Shock films. There's only so much I can do with electricity on like a $2,000 budget versus animation. Animation, all I can do is just draw it and make it come to life. Live action, you literally have to build those things from the ground up and trace those things. There's so much complexities that go into that. So I personally think with all of what Netflix said and everything going on with this whole situation, I still think that Netflix still has a good property on their hands. And if they hire like a very good showrunner to run that show, I have faith in Netflix to do that. Yes, they have put out crap before. I agree. But they've also put out a lot of great things as well. Punisher, Daredevil, Mindhunter, Ozark. I mean, the list goes on and on. So when I look at their track record, there's a lot of good things that they have put out. I do think that the Avatar creators should be involved to an extent. But if they decide to leave, it doesn't marsh my mellow at all. But Jeremy, you heard this news. What do you think about Netflix responding to the Avatar creators? And what do you think about this current situation going on with this whole show?
So, first of all, I'm not super familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Mm-hmm. I've never seen it before, but I know that it's beloved. Like people really seem to like Avatar. They seem to really like Naruto. There's a couple other ones, but these are things that I kind of would like to check out. I think there's a really interesting conversation to have sometime about the country of origin or the race of origin for a lot of anime characters. Mm-hmm. it's a whole thing, you know. There are very many Anglo, blonde hair, blue eyed looking Asian characters. Are they meant to be white? It's hard to say. When I look at the Legend of Korra, I read her as being more like a black girl, maybe like a Inuit, even like an Alaskan person. I mean, she's definitely not Caucasian in the same way. And then I would think that the lead character was an Asian kid. So I can definitely appreciate the idea of a diverse cast. I think we're so far past this idea that we have to whitewash the cast to make Western audiences watch stuff. At least in my experience, it doesn't seem like that's a big thing anymore. So I say be as true to that and include as many different people as you can. As far as a Netflix series, we've seen them do, you mentioned several just wonderful original properties that Netflix had done. It's also fair to say that those are all more prestige dramas, not a lot of effects. But then we can look at something like Extraction, which came out lately. We can look at The Old Guard, Bright, not a great movie, but it was well produced. It had effects in it. It looked good. Umbrella Academy, they do some really awesome stuff with effects there. So I do believe that they can make it look pretty good. I would be interested in seeing a live action adaptation of it. Now, again, what did the creators say to Netflix?
So they basically said that they wanted a bigger budget. They wanted to diversify the cast, and then they wanted to do. Creatively, they were supposed to be the showrunners of the show, so the buck stops there with them. So they chose the different directors to direct episodes. They chose their writers' room. They chose their producers. All of that good stuff, which I actually didn't have no problem with. But when I think about those creators who've done nothing live action, I think about Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni didn't do anything live action until Mandalorian. And Dave Filoni even said that Jon Favreau had to mentor him. So that's my thing. Like he had to get mentoring from Jon Favreau because he never did anything live action. So that was my concern. So that was what the part of contention that they had with Netflix was.
So are the original creators of Avatar Japanese, or are they with Nickelodeon and they're like American people that made an anime show?
Oh no, this was an original American-made show that has an anime style to it.
Okay, yeah. I agree with everything you said. Then, it would be nice for the creators to be able to be involved and attached to it, but at the same time, I don't think it's essential. I am somebody who was a diehard fan of Game of Thrones for a very long time. I feel like season 8 kind of dropped the ball because what happened is D&D, Benioff and Weiss, and they kind of had to wing it at the end. So the reason why I mentioned that is, Alex, did they find like a definitive ending of The Last Airbender, the animated series?
So in the animated series, and this might be a spoiler if you haven't seen all of it. It's all on Netflix, but in the animated series, Aang masters every single element, and then he fights he fights one of the Fire Lords or something of that nature, and he takes away his bending, and it sets up where Aang becomes the protector of that world, and he starts to build Republic City, and that's where Legend of Korra takes place, like maybe over 100 years later. So it had a definitive ending to Aang's story. Like, if they did a live action, you can do at least 10 seasons of just Aang.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think it would be great for him. Disney has The Mandalorian. I feel like this could be the family-oriented science fiction fantasy spectacle that Netflix needs, because, as you just now mentioned, they've got a bunch of great hits, but they don't have that one thing that can kind of bring the whole family in. So I would be interested to check it out.
Yeah. And to Jeremy's point, Netflix did say that they are looking for like a Star Wars or a Harry Potter, and I think Avatar, if done right, you can do Aang for about a good 10 seasons and then do Legend of Korra. And as long as you stay true to the source material and have great writing and great, I honestly believe, and this is with every project, you have a great showrunner, great producers, great DPs, great directors, you can tell a magnificent story. I want to point out, Stan Lee created Spider-Man. Stan Lee has not written a script for Spider-Man at all. He hasn't showrun nothing. And we love majority of the Spider-Man movies. So I want people to keep that in mind when you're talking about, I want the Avatar creators to be a part of the project. Stan Lee was not a part of any Spider-Man movie except for being in a cameo. So just keep that in mind. Like, he didn't make any decisions about, oh, Spider-Man can't do this or there was no part of contention when it came to those movies. So I want people to really think about that when we're talking about having the original creators being a part of a really beloved franchise. So what do you guys think about that? Jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And guys, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Ask Alex. Please like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you get all the updates of every time I'm releasing a video here on Momentum Media. Jeremy, where can we find you on YouTube?
I feel good about this, man. I feel like we really worked through some stuff on this episode, and I'm eager to see what happens with the DC Fandom. If you want to check out my content, movies are terrible. That's it. Head over and check out Movies Are Terrible.
Awesome. And also, guys, go check out the Controversy as well. Really great content over there. I'll be putting out more content this week, so stay tuned for that. Please like, comment, subscribe. And as always, you guys, you have a blessed day.